Great. So hello to everyone who's already here. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. We've invited you here today to have a look together and introduce you to AI dubbing and voiceover, which is certainly a topic you've heard about, encountered, or some of you may even have already worked with. We'll show you a few examples and see how it all works in practice. At the end, we'll also address some of your questions. If anything comes to mind during the webinar, feel free to type it straight into the chat. And we'll come back to it at the end and answer any questions you may have. Recently, when we were discussing the topic of this webinar, a friend asked me why they should even consider AI dubbing in their company, why it should interest them at all. It's simple. The company can save time, money, and often a lot of stress as well. Imagine you have a video for employee training, some product instructions, a commercial, or maybe a podcast, and you want to quickly get it translated into several languages. That's precisely where AI dubbing can help you the most. It's faster than traditional dubbing and more flexible when making changes. Thanks to the options open to us today, it's already very natural, as we'll see in a moment. And as is often the case, AI dubbing is still surrounded by a lot of myths and misconceptions. Some people think that the quality of these tools is still lacking, while others are wary of how simple it all seems. They think you just click a button, and everything's done as if by magic. It's certainly not as simple as just telling ChatGPT to dub the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy into 3 languages and expecting it to be done in an hour. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that yet. So let's see what the process really looks like. Here at Presto, we use software from Dubformer. Let's see what sort of things you can do with it. I won't drag this out any longer. I'll hand things right over to my skilled colleagues from our AV department, who will guide you through the whole process in more detail.
So hello from us as well. Before we show you how to work with the software, we're going to play you a short clip from a speech by President Kennedy that you might have seen on our website. We've translated that here into Czech and Slovak, so you can see what kind of results you can expect from the software.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Rozhodli jsme se letět na měsíc v tomto desetiletí ne proto, že je to snadné, ale proto, že je to obtížné. Rozhodli sme sa dostať na mesiac v tomto desaťročí nie preto, že je to ľahké, ale preto, že je to obťažné.
So that was just a short demonstration, and now we'll show you how to work with the software and all the things you can do with it.
For this presentation, we've chosen a short clip from our promo video, and we'll show you how and what can be achieved with AI dubbing or voiceover. For us, as the AV team, we first need to create the project, name it, and assign the correct language combination, meaning the language of the source video, and the language we want to have in the resulting video. We've already set this up here as it takes quite a while to upload the video itself into the software, and of course it always depends on how large the video is. Then the video needs to be transcribed in the original language. AI will help us do this automatically, which of course speeds up the work, and then a proofreader goes through the source text to ensure there aren't any errors. Here we see the editor itself.
We put together a team of translators for each major customer that specialize in the areas.
Here we see the transcript. In this case, there's no need to change anything, so we save it. So now that we have the transcript ready and approved, it's time for translation into the target language. Here again, you have the option to either use machine translation or have it done by a human translator. However, even if we choose machine translation, it still has to be checked by a translator, ideally a native speaker.
We put together a team of translators for each major customer that specialize in the areas.
Here we see the translation, and of course, the translator would correct it if anything needed to be done differently. Here we've edited this segment, so we save it. Once we have the translation ready, the next step is to choose a male or female voice actor based on the client's preferences. It's also possible to create a cloned voice that's very similar to the original. We'll do that here. Here we can see the voice library and all the voices you can choose from. Even though we've got a male speaker there, we can easily choose a female voice.
Vítejte v Le Méridien, nejlepším hotelu v Edinburghu. Vítejte v Le Méridien, nejlepším hotelu v Edinburghu.
Let's try this voice. We'll choose Annette. All right, let's save it. And now it's time for the so-called proof listener, who will play the entire video with the generated dubbing. We open the editor here.
Pro každého významného
And here we can change the selected voice, the female one.
text a formátování všech překladů.
Pro každého text a formátování všech překladů prochází.
This phase is a bit more creative. Usually you need to try out what sounds best.
Pro každého významné.
This part is the most time-consuming, but it also varies from project to project. That said, it's not often that the dubbing fits perfectly straight off the bat. So if it's a dubbing project, the person has to go through it, listen to the video, and watch how the speaker talks. And with a dubbing project, they also adapt the script to ensure that the generated speech matches the movement of how the person speaks in the video, the way their lips move. And if it's a voiceover, which is the case here, which means you hear the voice, but the person isn't directly visible on screen, it's much easier. Here we just need to fit within the set time of the given video. And of course, if it's a commercial, and there are any claims or on-screen texts, the voice should speak at the same time. So we can move this bar around.
Pro každého
shorten it in different ways, which will speed it up. Or on the contrary, lengthen it, which will slow down the speech. But when it gets too long, it becomes quite noticeable that it's a robotic voice speaking. For example, if I extend it like this.
Pro každého významného zákazníka sestavujeme tým překladatelů, kteří se specializují.
So it's better for it to be approximately the same length as the original, so that it sounds as natural as possible.
Pro každého významného zákazníka sestavujeme tým překladatelů, kteří se specializují na konkrétní oblasti.
It still sounds a bit fast here.
Pro každého významného zákazníka sestavujeme tým překladatelů, kteří se specializují na konkrétní oblasti.
Of course, we can adjust it in various ways. If I know, For example, that a pause would work well here.
Pro každého významného zákazníka.
Like here. So I generate it again.
Pro každého významného zákazníka sestavujeme tým překladatelů, kteří se specializují na konkrétní oblasti.
Now it's too fast, so we need to extend it a bit.
Pro každého významného zákazníka sestavujeme tým překladatelů, kteří se specializují na konkrétní oblasti.
Now you can hear there's a slight pause after the ellipsis. We need to play around with it a bit to get the desired sound. This software allows us to play around a little with emotions and different variations of the voices it uses. We select that here. Here you can see a basic selection of emotions. We even have check emotions here. We can also adjust the stability of the voices according to how we want the person to sound. You can play around with that a bit if you need. If we reduce the stability, we can get some interesting voice variations that might have a more natural intonation. But this also has its pitfalls, and the voice might have a different tone compared to the originally selected one. So we need to be a bit careful with that. Of course, the emotions are somewhat limited. We could try a shout, for example. So again, it usually takes quite a while. As you can see, there are 9 different options here, but we can generate even more. And then we just listen to the options we like. Some are shorter and some are longer, so it's also important to ensure it fits the length of the video.
Text a formátování všech překladů procházejí před odesláním závěrečnou kontrolou. Text a formátování všech překladů procházejí před odesláním závěrečnou kontrolou.
You can hear that the emotion is not exactly a shout, but it does sound a bit different to the voice without the emotion.
Text a formátování všech překladů procházejí před odesláním závěrečnou kontrolou. Text a formátování všech překladů procházejí před odesláním závěrečnou kontrolou.
So sometimes the differences are more noticeable, sometimes less so. And it also depends a lot on the original video, as the voice takes the sound curve from the original. And if the original voice is more monotonous, working with the target video becomes much more challenging. So we choose the option we like best. I'll pick this one, for example.
Text a formátování všech překladů procházejí před odesláním závěrečnou kontrolou. Text a formátování všech překladů procházejí před...
I'll shorten this a bit here to make it sound better. Now we can try to slide it along a bit more.
Text a formátování všech překladů procházejí před odesláním závěrečnou kontrolou.
So we save it here and can then continue in the same way with the next part of the video.
So, that was a brief demonstration of how to work with the software. And now we'll show you the finished video, the final version we edited here, translated into Czech and Slovak.
Presto has operated as a family business on the Czech market since 1991, retaining the advantages of a family-run business even today, despite its considerable growth. Presto is headquartered in Prague, with a subsidiary in Bratislava in the Slovak Republic.
Presto působí na českém trhu již od roku 1991. a výhody rodinného podniku si i přes značný růst zachovává dodnes. Presto sídlí v centru Prahy a pobočku má na Slovensku v Bratislavě.
Spoločnosť Presto pôsobí na českom trhu od roku 1991, pričom si dodnes zachováva výhody rodinnej firmy, a to aj napriek značnému rastu. Presto sídli v centre Prahy a pobočku má na Slovensku v Bratislave.
Brilliant. As you can see, AI voiceover is now so good that it's really hard to distinguish from a human voice. So the potential is huge, from lectures and commercials to television and film production. Now we've prepared a short quiz for you, and we'd love for you to take part. We've prepared 5 videos, which we'll play for you one by one. A poll will appear on the right side of the screen, where you can vote on whether the video is voiced by a machine or a human. When I tried it a few times, I still got caught out every time. However, if the poll doesn't appear automatically, you'll need to click on the app icon at the bottom. That's the first of the 3 in the bottom right corner. Alternatively, let us know if you can't see the poll. And I'll ask my colleagues if they can take over again.
And now you see how beautifully Ulf Andersson has set it up. Textbook style. He has 5 pawns of white color and a bishop on black squares. He controls the D file, has a well-placed bishop, rook, and queen.
Okay, let's pause it here. You can vote now. We'll just wait a moment. We can see that the votes are still coming in. Right, excellent. So most of you voted for the AI voice, which I think is correct. Now here's the answer. Great. And let's move on to the second example.
Máš super produkt, vymakaný web, investuješ do reklamy, ale výsledek žádnej. Je ti to povědomí? Hodně klientů za námi chodí s tím, že investují do reklamy, ale reklama se jim nevrací.
Okay, let's pause again, and you can vote again now. Just a few seconds more. We're just waiting for a few more people. I assume you can see the results too, that 71% of you voted for the human voice. And here we'll show the result again. And we'll move straight on to the third example.
Rizika nejsou jenom o pojištění, rizika nejsou jenom o rezervách. Samozřejmě riziko může být i to, že pokud máte nemovitost a máte na ní hypotéku, tak dneska 2 roky zpátky jste mohli vidět, že se zvyšovaly úrokové sazby.
You can start voting again. Again, the majority of you voted for the human voice, and we'll show the result again so you can see. Again, those who voted for the human voice are correct. and we can move on to the fourth example.
Pokud se budeme snažit, aby naše glukóza v krvi byla trošku více stabilní a ty maxima nebyly vysoké a nebylo jich hodně, tak můžeme udělat pro svoji dlouhověkost něco dobrého.
We're going to stop for a moment for you to vote. Again, the majority voted for the AI voice, which is correct. And here we even used a cloned voice of the speaker. And we'll move straight on to the fifth and final example.
Every day, new roads await us. To work, to school, to adventure, comfort, space, and safety for you and your family.
We'll stop so you can vote. Well, this time we can see that things weren't quite as straightforward for you. Here we've got a 45 to 55% split. So let's have a look at the result.
That's interesting. I'm surprised that you did so well. Come on, own up. Who cheated? However, the last one wasn't quite so clear-cut. It was 50-50 there. Some people voted for the human voice, some for the AI. So it's not that easy to recognize after all. Anyway, we're now going to slowly wrap up the webinar, so we'll get to your questions now. And we've prepared a small parting gift for you at the end. So if anything comes to mind about the topic, anything at all, or if anything wasn't clear to you, you can type your questions in the chat. If you can still see the poll, you need to click on the last icon at the very bottom right to get into the chat. Let's wait just a little bit longer. Is nobody asking anything? Or is my chat not working? Does nobody have any questions?
We can see that the chat is working, but there really aren't any questions. The first question has just come in, a question we were expecting. What's the approximate price for a minute or an hour of dubbing? Do you at least have a specific language combination in mind? Because it always depends on which languages the dubbing or voiceover is for. Of course, there are some language combinations which take much longer, and the price reflects that. Excellent, from English to Czech. For this particular combination, the price is about half what you'd pay for human dubbing. We can handle this combination quite quickly here, but again, it depends how long the video is. So far, we've been working mostly with commercials and voiceovers. We're not venturing into film production yet. We'll leave that to people with a little more experience for now. But we estimate that roughly half the normal price is about right. So that's everything. No one has anything to add at the moment. So, Camille, it's over to you.
If no one has anything else to add, or if you think of something later, feel free to write to me or give me a call. We can, of course, answer any questions afterwards. With that, we'll slowly start to say our goodbyes and wrap up this webinar. In order for you to try it out in your own context, We're offering 1 minute of AI dubbing for each participant completely free of charge. This is available for combinations of English, Czech, and Slovak. We'll do it for you in any combination of these languages. Just write to us or give us a call, and we'll sort out the details later. If you think of anything else, please don't hesitate to get in touch. Thanks for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you next time, whether online or face-to-face. Take care.
Thank you and goodbye.